This is the original pin punisher. I've been bowling all my life. Professional bowling is my passion, and now I'm here to share it with you.
Today we've got the 39-foot Chameleon pattern. This one's pretty cool because PBA pattern. But anyways, it's really flat, so it's a 1-to-2 ratio, but at the same time they give you a lot of structure on the gutter. So a lot of the times your 1-to-2 39-foot patterns, whether they're PBA or any other type of pattern, they don't really give you a lot of play on the gutter, especially when they're this flat. So 1-to-2, not going to give you a whole lot of misroom, but all the structure in this pattern is from about 6 to 9. So if you can get right of that in practice and burn that area up, in other words, throw some dole balls down that area and give yourself a little bit of hook room, you can get a pretty good start on this pattern. Now generally, you're probably going to start out, you're not going to start out playing the gutter, but you're going to start out probably like closer to second arrow, maybe in between second and the third arrow, and then once the pattern breaks down, you just slowly keep moving left and throwing into that friction that you develop in practice. Or when the field starts to break it down a little bit, you get further and further into your block and there's a lot of friction, so start really curving it on this one. So overall, this pattern has a lot of oil. It's got 33 mils of oil, so you'll need some stronger bowling balls. And I'll get into that a little bit later. You might be wondering, how do you play this pattern? With all the structure being from 6 to 9 in the graph, you are able to first draw a spot to the right of that, and then you can play in that zone. So you will play in the cliff. You'll need like a little bit of a weaker ball, maybe something smooth and symmetric, and it'll allow you to go pretty straight angles, and then you can play that cliff zone a little bit until they really start to dry up and there's a noticeable amount of friction in that zone, and then you can really start to move left and curve your ball quite a bit into it. So you'll end up being around probably well, if you want to throw urethane, maybe first arrow, but if you're going to throw a reactive resin ball, you're going to be around the second and third arrow to start. And then once it really breaks down, you move into like the fourth, and then really dry scenarios, you're going to be into the fifth arrow. Now, you'll be in the fifth arrow, but you're not going to be throwing it straight at the gutter. You're going to be throwing it probably towards the 6 pin, or if you're a lefty, the 4 pin. So just that general cliff zone, that's where you want to keep your break point as well, that 6 to 9. So if you go outside of 6, you may find the ball struggling to recover, but if you pull it in from 9, you may find yourself having that ball hook a lot, and that's because your launch pad on this pattern is pretty flat. So like from the right-handed 10 to like the left-handed 10, you're going to see a pretty flat, big mound of oil. So that is going to make it tough. When you start to move left, you'll notice that you'll have to be a little bit better with your launch angles, meaning you have to get it right into that friction, or you may see your ball do some tricky things down the down lane. So kind of straightforward. You start out pretty straight, narrow angles, and then when you start to move left, you open your angles up and really start to belly it. So you'll see it from some of my shots in the video. I'll have some smoother balls that go pretty straight, and then I'll have some stronger balls that are really hooked to lane. most of the cores that I used in this video were symmetric, and they were on the core number range. I would say they were around about 248 to about 255 or so, and on the differential side of things they were 030 to 050, so pretty big amount of flare, with, you know, exceptions to medium amount of flare. And then I did have one asymmetric core ball, the Gravity Evolve, that I was throwing, which is pretty strong. So that ball I usually keep it for when there's a lot of oil, but you still got to go straight. So I used pretty much solid shell cover balls until I really needed to start moving left. Then you could get into a hybrid or a pearl. So those are the balls I used, and I'll be getting on to layouts and surfaces next. Looking to play really straight on this pattern, some of the layouts that I found to be pretty beneficial were the shorter pin layouts. On the extreme side, I had a 2.5 inch pin ball, but it had a high val angle, so it allowed it to get down lane, but it grabbed so early and it kept it in a medium flare zone that it allowed me to play up the lane a lot more. So when I started to bend the ball a little bit, I didn't need a lot of help, so I kept the shorter pins, except they weren't super short on the extreme side like the 2.5 inch pin. They were 4 to 3 3/8. So that allowed me to stay pretty smooth at the break point, pretty round shaping bowling balls. But once I needed to move left, I got into the longer pins. I was a 4.5 to a 5 inch pin symmetrical shell, and I was able to really curve it good with it. So that's it for the layouts. Now, as far as the surfaces go, the shorter pin balls were a lot duller to keep them reading early and smooth, and then my longer pin balls were a little bit of surface, but not a lot. I wanted them to be able to retain a lot of energy and still hook on the down lane. So that's it for surfaces. Thanks for watching today, guys. Glad you made it to the end of the video. If you have any other comments, questions, or concerns, want to see a certain kind of video, let me know in the comments. Thanks.